everyone, it's Annie. It is a very sunny day outside, so sorry if the lighting is a bit strange. And today I am very excited. I'm filming 2 videos about something I'm very passionate about, which is translated books. So some of you may know that my degree was in linguistics, especially Japanese and Korean. So most of these books that I talk about might be Japanese and Korean, but I have really tried to have some variety in here so that everyone can find something that they're interested in. So in this video today, I'm going to be recommending some of my favorite or most interesting translated books that I've already read. So let's go. So the first book I'm going to talk about, I actually have the Japanese edition. It is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. And this is kind of a collection of short stories, but they all take place in the same setting. The premise of this time travel sci-fi-esque book is that there is this little cafe in Tokyo where if you sit in a specific chair in this cafe, you can go back in time. But you can't change anything. And you can only stay for as long as it takes for your coffee to get cold. So you have to come back before the coffee gets cold. So this is a superbly creative book. I loved it so much. All of the characters and stories in here are really hard-hitting and just so magical. And I've also read the sequel to this, which is great. I have it over there. And there's a third one that's only in Japanese. I really highly recommend this. This is one of my favorite new books that I've read. And now I'm going to talk about a book translated from Polish. It is Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead, which is just such a metal title. I love that title so much. So this book is about an eccentric old woman who lives in a really small isolated town in the forest outside of Warsaw, and she is like obsessed with zodiac signs and like stuff like that, which I think is a really fun aspect of the book. And she's basically trying to solve this mystery that's going on in her hometown because her neighbors keep dying. And it's great. It is a mystery thriller kind of psychological book, and it is quite short. It is so good. One of the best books, translated or not, that I've read in a really long time. It's definitely worth the read. And then another Japanese book I would like to talk about is The Beast Player. I have talked about this quite a bit on my channel. This is a YA fantasy. It's so good. It is beautiful, seriously. Not just the cover, the writing is as well. Let me read you the synopsis because it does a good job of describing it. Eden's family has an important responsibility, caring for the fearsome water serpents that form the core of their kingdom's army. So when some of these creatures mysteriously die, her mother is sentenced to death as punishment. With her last breath, she manages to send her daughter to safety. Alone and far from home, Eden soon discovers that she can communicate with both the water serpents and the majestic flying royal beasts that guard her queen. This skill gives her great power, but it also involves her in deadly plots that could cost her life. So this book is really interesting. It is full of political intrigue. Even though it's a YA, it's really well fleshed out. And the relationship that Eden has with her royal beast that she trains is so gorgeous and really just amazing to read about. Their relationship is so sweet and lovely. And I think this is a really great book, such an amazing YA translated read. And then I'd like to talk about one of the queens of Japanese literature, which is Yoko Ogawa and The Memory Police. This is such a quintessential Japanese translated work that I am including here because if you haven't read it, you really should. It is so good. It is a dystopian novel, kind of in the same vein as 1984. It involves this novelist who lives on an island where the memory police erase things from their lives and they can't remember them. But there are a select few people who aren't affected by the memory police and only they can remember these things, but they have to act like they can't. So for example, like the birds all disappear and then nobody can remember that there were ever birds, and like they just live their lives without birds in the world. But she can remember that there used to be birds, and like so it's just so good. It's such a creative story, really great dystopian that honestly should be taught in high school, I think. It is so good, really. If you like 1984 or Fahrenheit 451, any of those kind of classic dystopians, you will love this book. Next book I'd like to talk about was translated from Spanish. It is Fever Dream by Samantha Schweblin, and this was an amazing, really short little book. I really can't give anything away about it because it is so short and so wild, but you will feel like you're reading a fever dream when you read this. Let me read you what it says. A young woman named Amanda lies dying in a rural hospital clinic. A boy named David sits beside her. She's not his mother. He's not her child. Together, they tell a haunting story of broken souls, toxins, and the power and desperation of family. So it's really interesting. It has so much interesting commentary on the world that we live in. I can't give it away because it's kind of spoilery, but it's just so good, and it's so short, so why not just give it a chance? The next book is translated from Japanese. It is Confessions. This book is amazing. First of all, its narrative style is so unique. It is told in alternating voices. So first it's told only from one perspective, but you only hear that one perspective's words and thoughts. Like even if she's talking to people, you can't hear or will read the dialogue from other people. So it's a really unique way to tell the story, and you get all of these different perspectives, but in each separate chapter. And I just think it's brilliantly done. And this tells the story of a middle school teacher in Japan whose daughter dies on the school grounds in mysterious circumstances. And she thinks that one of her students in her homeroom is involved, so she kind of stages this intervention on her last day before resigning and quitting teaching. And it is just such a good thriller. One of the best books. I know I keep saying that, but seriously, this should be one of the first books you read if you want to dive into Japanese literature. It is so good. It also has a movie adaptation, which is so good and just really terrifying and psychologically thrilling. This is a masterpiece, absolutely. Please read it. And the last book I'm going to talk about in this video is one of my all-time favorite Korean translated works. It is Human Acts by Han Kang, and she also wrote The Vegetarian. To be honest, I didn't really like The Vegetarian, but I love all of her other works, and this one is so gorgeous. It does deal with some really heavy themes. It is about the 1980s student uprisings in Korea, where a young boy named Dong-ho is shockingly killed. The story of this tragic episode unfolds in a sequence of interconnected chapters as the victims encounter suppression, denial, and the echoing agony of the massacre. So it follows a couple different perspectives, and it's historical fiction, but it is so powerful. Han Kang's words, well, the translator's words as well, are so masterfully put together. She is just a force to be reckoned with in Korean literature. So I highly recommend this, and I think if you're into historical fiction and you haven't really been sure about Han Kang because The Vegetarian is so weird, you should read this. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and leave in the comment your favorite translated book. I'd love to hear about all your recommendations. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye!